All right, we're back here on the Saturday Morning Show. Another episode. Today is Saturday, March the 7th, and we've got a great guest here with us. Kenny McCallister is going to talk with us in just a moment. If you're new to the morning show, I just kind of wanted to let you know real quickly what this is all about. Every Saturday morning, what we are trying to do is bring you some candidates for office here in Dickson County. If you're not really familiar with politics and kind of how government works, every couple of years we have elections, and this year just happens to be a big election cycle. 2026 is the year that we are going to elect a mayor, county commission, and a few school board seats, and a couple of other, or a few other constitutional offices that are also involved at the county level. So it's really a big election year. It's the biggest in the 4-year cycle here in 2026, and we have tried to do our best to get you informed on who is running. And so over the past few weeks, really since the first of the year, we've tried to bring in as many different candidates for office as we could. And we started off with state representative candidates. We had on a few candidates for the county mayor. And over the past few weeks, we've really tried to focus on trying to hunt down and get a few guys and girls who are running for the county commission to come on and talk to us a little bit about themselves, why they decided to run, and probably most importantly, give them a chance to get their information out to you. So if you are interested in following up with them and asking them some questions, that you would be able to do that. So we're just happy to be here this morning, and we've got another great show lined up for you. Kenny McCallister is here with me this morning. Hey, Kenny, how you doing?
I'm doing good, and thank you, Justin, for having me on the show and giving me an opportunity to share who I am with you.
Absolutely. Well, it's a beautiful Saturday morning, and the weather has really turned on us. I think when I first started doing this show, I guess it's been close to a couple months ago now. It was ice outside one week when we were here. It was really cold, but the temperatures have changed, and it's just a beautiful Saturday morning here in Dickson County. And I really appreciate you coming on today and talking to us a little bit about your county commission campaign. You're running for District 2, and what I like to do with these interviews is really start off first with the basics. There are folks who are listening this morning who are probably following your campaign closely. They know you pretty well. They're probably your supporters. But then there's probably also going to be some folks who are listening who, maybe don't know a whole lot about you. So if we could start off by maybe just talking a little bit about your background, your experience, and really just, who is Kenny McCallister? So if you don't mind, we'll start there. Right, tell me a little bit about yourself, Kenny.
Well, I'm 58 years old. I've been pretty much a Dickson County resident my whole life. My parents moved here to White Bluff from Murfreesboro at an early age. A few years later, we moved over to Charlotte. My father had got a farm over there, and we moved over there for pretty much my high school years. I am a graduate of Dickson County Senior High School, class of '86. Later, after high school, I kind of done a few different jobs and decided to start my own business. I went into working for myself, doing landscaping and lawn care in the summertime and logging in the wintertime, which led to about 15 years worth of employment. And I had the opportunity after about 15 years to sell the business. Thought about it and sold the business. That was my livelihood, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Took the opportunity to decide to go off and go to police academy. Had some good friends that was with law enforcement here in Dickson, and I kept talking to them, and they kind of persuaded me into trying it, so I did. I went to Walter State Community College through their law enforcement academy, come back, got hired by Fairview Police Department, and that was approximately 20 years ago now. I've been there for about 20 years. I'm actually the captain over the Criminal Investigation Division, and on the side, I do have a cattle farm on the southwest corner of Dickson County, which is out on 48 South. That's pretty much where I'm at right now. I've still got, a few years left in law enforcement, I hope, as long as my boss and them keep me there. But that's pretty much who I am.
Well, there's, Kenny, I've known you for a while, and I think probably the first place I ever ran into you was probably out on a ball field. And so, you've been involved in that kind of stuff for a while here, kind of giving back to the kids. I've coach soccer. We were kind of talking about that when you came in. You remember, he's like, I remember you when you was coaching soccer, and I remember you back when you were coaching. Talk to me a little bit about that because, all that stuff, that you've done is important, but giving back to the kids, being part of the community is also important, and you did that for a long time.
I did. I actually, when I went to work for myself, it gave me the opportunity to be able to pursue things that I wanted to do. And one of the big things I wanted to do was be able to coach my kids in sports. And that gave me the true opportunity to be able to do that. Not only my kids, but I think I felt like I was able to hopefully help with the kids and maybe get a hold of some kids that may go down the wrong road, things like that prior to at an early age. But I coached over with the Burns Cowboys for multiple years. I was part of Tri-County Junior Pro for almost 25 years. I actually ran the league with the help of several board members for probably 15, 16, 17 years. I've done all the budgeting and all the expenditures, money coming in, money going out for 14 different organizations and 10 different counties all across Middle Tennessee. I got big enjoyment out of being able to reach the kids before they got to an older age. And there ain't no more enjoyment of that as, these kids coming back to me now and still calling me coach of these years.
Yeah, it's fun.
I actually had one do it yesterday. So I walk in the Verizon store and first thing I hear, hey, coach, that means a lot to you whenever things like that happen. So I've done that for a long time. That was a big part of my life for 20 something years.
Yeah, I know. And I know you don't, want to brag on that, but I like to bring it up, because I think it's important. And that's, I think, probably the first time that I ever saw you was out there at the Burns Cowboys. And I know for a lot of years you give back to those boys. And it is cool, isn't it? Because the same thing happens to me. I coach soccer here at the Dixon Middle School for a few years, and a lot of those kids are just now getting into, adulthood, and they're out there in the stores, and you run into them. And we had at the Mexican restaurant the other night, and one of the girls that waited on us was in the class from years ago, and it's just kind of fun to see, kids out there succeeding and stuff like that. And I don't know if you've seen kind of getting off topic here. Well, not really, but we're talking a little bit about football, right? But I was this morning dropping my son off over at the high school, and you look over and you see all that construction going on, and you realize how important sometimes sports can be for young people.
It is very big, and it goes along with a lot of other things that the county commissioners and the mayor and the county officials do for this county, not just the school, but in the agricultural world too. And I know we can possibly get on that topic in a little while too. But I've got 5 grandkids and grandkids. I got 4 kids and 5 grandkids, and I want this community to be something that they can be part of too.
Absolutely.
And they're here in Tennessee. So of course I've got one that's in Germany, it's in the Army, but they're here in Tennessee, and I just I want them to be part of the sports or the agricultural world.
Absolutely. Yeah, and in just a minute we'll get into more of the details about your campaign and the things. I know there's a lot going on right now with the county commission. I've been watching a lot of those meetings, but sort of as we sort of wrap up this first segment, though, how's the campaign been going? Because I know that you've been out there. I've run into you. I try to go to as many events as I can, and this is just like a shameless plug, but if you'll let me know when your event is, I will do my best to try to come by. And I've seen you at a couple events, came by one of your events, and how's the campaign been going? It's
going good, very, very accepting. I think the people really are very accepted because they're just not used to somebody walking up and talking to them. And I have done some door knocking, and I think it means a lot to the people just to know that there's somebody with the county and with the that they support or that runs the county that's willing to come to their door.
Absolutely.
I think they're very accepting of that. It's been going good though.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and take our first break here. We're about 8-9 minutes in, and then when we come back, I do want to ask you a little bit more about the specifics.
Okay.
Why you decided to run some of those key campaigns, and maybe even we talk a little bit about where District 2 is, because folks are always wondering about that. So we've got Kenny McCallister here this morning. He's running for County Commission District 2, and he's talking to us all about his campaign. We'll take a quick break, hear a couple commercials, maybe a song, and then we'll come back and we'll get to some more about Kenny's campaign. You're listening to the Saturday Morning Show right here on Dixon County Radio. All right, we're back here on Dixon County Radio. You're listening to the Saturday Morning Show, and we appreciate you tuning in this morning. If you're getting in a little bit late with us here this morning. We've got Kenny McCallister on. Kenny's running for county commissioner. It's in District 2 here in Dixon County. We've actually got 12 commissioners, and all 12 seats are up for election this time around. Some of those are contested, some of those are uncontested, but all 12 are up for election. And, Kenny, if you don't mind, maybe we could start here by talking a little bit about the district and like maybe a little geography here, because some folks get a little bit confused about, who their county commissioner is, where their district is. And I know you don't have a map in front of you here, but could you give me maybe just a general kind of consensus of where this District 2 is in the county?
Absolutely. If you'll go down Cowan Road, which most of all District 2 is going to pertain to the southwest corner, Cowan Road, city limits out, East Piney from the city limits out to the county line. Same way with 48 South, all the way around to like Garner's Creek and Highway 70. If you take the city limits in that area right there and just go outward to the county lines, that's pretty much going to be District 2.
Okay.
It's going to be more or less, like I said, like a kind of like a quarter moon. It's going to be the southwest corner of Dixon County.
Okay, and I appreciate you kind of pointing that out, because it does get a little bit confusing to folks, and there are some online resources and things like that if you're not sure exactly where you fall, but it always helps to kind of give folks kind of an idea there. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into it, because what I want to ask you next is basically why you decided to run, and then a couple of the key points of your campaign. Because in my opinion, when you decide to run for office, there's that decision that has to be made, right? And it's for some folks, because I've done a lot of these interviews over the years. I got to do quite a few interviews back when this cycle was going in 2022, and then several of elections in between here. But I've always been fascinated with this question of why did you decide to run, because I get a lot of different answers. It could be anything from, this is something I thought about as a young person. I saw people, doing it, and I thought, if the opportunity ever comes, I'd like to do that. For other folks, I've noticed that it's a little bit more of maybe a particular issue happens and it gets them a little more politically involved. Maybe they get fired up about something seems unjust or whatever, and they decide to go out there, and this particular issue has made me more political, and now I've decided to be a leader. And then I've heard a lot of different things in between, but I'd like to pose that question to you this morning. What is it that made you decide to run for this particular office and get involved in the government? Well,
Justin, I'm not much of a politician. I'm not trying to be. I'm actually a police officer that raises cattle for a living, But I have lived in pretty much all the different areas of the county except for Van Leer. I've not had an opportunity to live down there, but I started out my life in White Bluff, moved over to Charlotte, Burns, and now in Dixon. So I've got a big heart for the whole county. And when I see things that that I wish would be different, it makes me kind of think, man, how can I give input for this? That makes you really want to question, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? And then you start looking into it. County commissioners is a place where you can actually be a voice for the decisions that are made for the county. And that was one of the big things. I feel like I just seen a lot of stuff. Not only that, I'm big on the agricultural. And going back to what we was talking about earlier, the county has purchased some land out on the south side of the county, out on 46. Hands off to the county commissioner for doing that, because I do feel like agriculture is just as important for the county as more than people probably know. Mm-hmm. I coached youth football for a long time. We've talked about that, but I think the agriculture, these kids getting an opportunity to see the agriculture world is big, and that's a big plus for our youth to be able to have that opportunity. In the future, I would love for these kids to be able to see, a cow standing in pasture or hay being cut out of a field. And I want to make sure that's still here. Uh-huh. So I'm big on the agricultural stuff. I think, the growth and the infrastructure need to align with each other to make sure we still have that for the future kids that are coming up in this county. I want my grandkids to see that. I know that.
Absolutely.
So I'd hands off to them for choosing to go down the road of maybe starting that process of putting an ag building in Dixon County, which I think is well needed for the youth, more or less. But more than that, I feel like that I feel like Dixon County needs some accountable leaders that puts the people first. I go door to door, and a lot of it they just don't know. And I tell them all, hey, get involved in it. Go to county commissioner meetings. Listen to the stuff that's going on. Go to committee meetings. I think it's putting the people first is going to be big. I just want to be a voice for the people that's in my community, in my district, and hopefully for the whole county if I'm elected, to be able to make some common sense decisions, for the future or whatever. Hopefully help the like I said, the infrastructure and the growth align with each other to where we ain't outgrowing what we have here.
Absolutely.
Where it eliminates the agriculture altogether, and I don't want to see that go, and I don't think anybody else does either. But I want to be able to have a voice up there to be able to give my input on how we can make that still allow the growth to come in, because it's coming. It's going to happen. Growth is going to come because we want our kids to grow up here. We want our grandkids to grow up here. And with that being said, that's going to make us grow. So we are going to have growth. We just got to make sure we align it with the infrastructure and things that are in this county where we still have the agricultural world, because I think Dixon County is a big agricultural county. Yeah. And I have a heart for the kids to be in agricultural. All my kids have done something in that sort of fashion, all the way from messing with horses, messing with cows, or rodeoing. So I do have a heart for that. And I just want to, I feel like it's a road that a lot of kids can actually go down that road and maybe stay away from the other stuff that's out there that they get offered to them. Yeah. Just like sports, there's a lot of things that kids can get into sports and keeps them away from the other things that's out there that they can get into.
Absolutely. Well, and I've got 2 kids in middle school. We've talked about this, and you're trying to keep them involved in stuff, and sports is a good go-to. I think for you and I personally, I think with our backgrounds, I think sports did a lot for us, and we became coaches. There's some other kids who really aren't into sports. I met a kid last year who was really into the ag world. He was into the more or less the farming aspect of it. And about this time of the year last year, he was and all of his friends over there for the FFA and all that, they're growing all these plants, and I came by and got some, and I started me a garden in my backyard because I was sort of inspired by what the students were doing. They were walking around with their little red Solo cups, with their seeds and their plastic on the top of them, and they're teaching me these things, and it really, I don't know, it just kind of hit me one day that maybe not all kids do sports, and there are other kids who do other things, whether it be band or chorus or singing or theater is a big one over at the high school. But having my own kids that age, and they are taking to sports, but they're also looking at some other things too, and it's really got me thinking about other opportunities for kids. And we have some great ag departments. I've taken my boy to the baseball field the other day because he's doing that, and we go right by the barn over at the high school, behind the football field. And I was just noticing all the work they'd done over there, and it just seems like that program is flourishing. Right. And it's doing great. And then, I watch the county commission meetings on YouTube because I can't always be there. And I know you mentioned, get more involved. Well, folks, they're on YouTube. They're putting them out there to the public. And I was watching the other day, and they were talking about the Ag Center. I actually decided after school to drive down to that property. I just wanted to see where it was and just kind of see how big it was. I'm just a curious mind and kind of a nerd about that kind of stuff. But I drove down there to it and checked it out. And, man, I was just impressed. And it really, as somebody who, I grew up in a neighborhood, I didn't grow up on a farm, but I do have appreciation for that. And I see kind of what that means to our community and our kids and that next generation coming up. It's important.
Correct. I agree 100%. All kids don't go to college. Now, I have a lot of respect for the ones that go to college, but I do feel like there's kids out there that just college is just not made for them. Well, an ag center, agricultural world gives them another opportunity to know that, hey, we don't have to go to college to be successful. And I think that agricultural or sports in general, them are things that can give these kids another opportunity instead of just being out on the streets or not knowing where they're going to go in life. And you don't ever know what comes of that. It just, they can go down to vet. They have to go to college to be a vet, but they can go down that road. And it may get them into wanting to be a vet, which could lead into going to college. So I think just because they don't go to college, or whatever, that agriculture gives them another opportunity to be successful in life. And I know that ain't the only thing that is going to come from being a county commissioner. I know there's a lot of budgeting that has to be looked at to make sure we can afford stuff like that. I took care of my own budget when I had my own business. I pretty much ran the whole budget for the Tri-County whenever we done that with the help of the board members. So I know that that's got to be done, but there's ways to be able to do it to make sure we, are doing the best interest for the people of the county. And I think that's a lot of it too, just having a voice for the county, for the people of the county, to be able to have somebody, hey, they can give their information to what they have problems with, and we can use that voice at the county commissioner meetings and stuff like that. And I think that's just what the commissioner needs to be able to open-minded and be able to do. Our mayor has done a fabulous job up there, and that we rely on the mayor to be able. That's a full-time position. The county commissioner is not. He relies on us to, hold him accountable, and he relies on us to hold him accountable. So it all works hand in hand.
It does. It works together. People don't realize
correct.
it. And, a lot of people don't even know sometimes don't even know what the mayor versus the county commission, like what those specific roles are. They know that together they run the government, but there is a lot of, work that has to take place between the sides. And, the legislative body has to work with the mayor and vice versa. So, and there's 12 of you. So, and then that's definitely a dynamic of it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's you're very that's right on the money. That body is the person in between the community and the decision making of the county. They voice their opinion to us, and I try to give every house I go knock on the door, I'll stay there as long as they want me to stay there to hear what they've got to say. I think that's important to them. We're the person that has to take that and try to make that work for the whole county as a whole. We ain't gonna make everybody happy. There's no way to do that. But I do feel like if we just show them, hey, you've got a voice, speak your mind, and they're happy after that. And if we can come back and give them a reason why we done something, then sometimes that's all they want. They just want to know why we did that.
Absolutely.
And that means a lot to them. I realize that, while I've been on this campaign trail, I've explained some of the things. I've actually went into a long conversation with the mayor on an issue that happened here in the county, or something that I get asked on a lot of doors I knocked on. I spoke with the mayor about it. He explained it to me, and it's completely explainable if people just open up their ears and listen to the reason why they made the decision they made. But sometimes things get said throughout the county, and it spreads throughout the county. Next thing you know, it's completely different than really what is the reason why the county commissioners and the mayor did something. But just open up their ears and listen to it, or go back and explain to them why they did this. To me, that makes them. They feel like they've accomplished something.
Absolutely.
Being that voice is big, I believe, and that's what I want to. I want to be the voice for the people of the community. I am agricultural, so I'm going to be, more of the agricultural side of it. But I realize too, as sitting on that board, there's 12 of us that's got to make decisions for the whole county. And when it comes time, that's what we got. That's what we got to base it on. The whole group as a whole, not just my area.
Yes. Well, Kenny McCallister is here this morning, District 2 County Commissioner candidate. He's telling us all about his campaign. Let's take one last break. We'll come back for the third and final segment. When we do, I'm going to ask Kenny if there's any other big issues that we haven't hit on yet, and I also want to make sure that he gives out his contact information so that if you guys want to follow up with him, you can. So don't go anywhere. Stay right here. We're going to take a quick break, a couple commercials, and maybe a song, and then we'll be back to talk a little bit more to Kenny McCallister, County Commission candidate District number 2. You're listening to the Saturday Morning Show right here on Dickson County Radio. All right, we're back here on the Saturday Morning Show on Dickson County Radio, and we appreciate everybody tuning in with us this morning. Not sure how you're tuning in with us this morning. We've got a couple ways. You can hear us on DicksonCountyRadio.com, so we've got our website. You can go straight there, click the link, and listen to it on your laptop, computer, however you do. Now, if you have a smartphone, we do have an app. I don't know if you guys know about this or not, but Live 365 is the app. If you want to go to the App Store and download it, and then once you download the Live 365 app, all you have to do is search for Dickson County Radio, and I'm told that it sounds the best coming straight from the app. That's what they tell me. They say it's clearest and it sounds the best, and you can also surf on your other apps while it plays in the background. that's the feedback I'm getting, so I'm just throwing that out there to you guys. And you've also got the Facebook page, which we've got close to 3,000 followers now. We appreciate all of you that are following us on there, as well as DCTV. We've got, I think, 13,000 on there, so we appreciate all of you guys that are following us on Facebook. And the numbers, the data tells me that's how people listen the most, Kenny, is Facebook. That seems to be like the way people get their information these days. So if you're listening to us on Facebook this morning, we appreciate that as well. We've got Kenny McCallister here with us this morning. He's running for County Commission, District Number 2. And Kenny has talked to us this morning, been with us. We appreciate you coming in live in the studio here with us. He talked all about himself in the first segment. I always make people feel uncomfortable talking about themselves, but I appreciate you giving us your background and information about yourself so people kind of know who you are. Then in the second segment there, we really dived into why he decided to run for office, some campaign points there, and I did want to, in this third segment, give you a chance if we left anything out there in the second segment that you thought was important. Sometimes we get to rattling on about a particular topic. Is there anything, any campaign points that we missed on that you wanted to hit on?
Yeah, I do. I want to make sure everybody knows the way to get involved is, main thing is we gotta be willing to get out and vote. I do feel like we got several thousand in our district and only a few hundred vote. And to be able to get involved and be able to show that we do matter, you got to get out and vote and show that we do have voters in our district. That's a big thing. I do feel like that sometimes we just don't think it's important. My one vote don't matter, but that one vote does matter. Whether you're voting for me or somebody else, voting does matter. And I encourage everybody to go to the polls and vote. Primary, and as well as I think the primary has become an important thing, being we are running partisan this time.
Yeah.
So it's important to vote in that primary just as much as it is in the generals. So I encourage everybody to do that. And I want everybody, to know me. I have got a website. I've got a Facebook. It's www.kennethmccallister.com. You can reach me that way. My phone number is on there. My Facebook stuff is on there. QR code to learn all about me. You'll realize, my goal is to serve with integrity. And I want to be the voice for the rural community along with everybody else in the county. I want the rural community to have a voice just as much as everybody else. So get to know the candidates. I think that's very important, who you're going to support. Look every one of them up. Almost every one of them have some kind of Facebook or websites that you can go to and find out which one aligns with what you agree with and the way that you look at stuff, and go vote for them. Show their support.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you coming on the show here, because it gives us an opportunity to, really get that information out to people. I've done the show for several years. We kind of go through different phases where we kind of focus on different aspects of the community. We've had business owners in quite a bit. We like to highlight, local business owners, entrepreneurs, people who, have really worked hard to provide a business service to us here in the community. We've tried to give them a spotlight. We've had sports teams on before, coaches, trying to give them a spotlight. But here this year, I just thought, it's really important to give that information out to the people. That was the biggest complaint I heard back in the old days before we really started doing this was, how do I get a hold of information on these candidates? I have no idea who so-and-so is, or, I don't know, who's running for this or that. And so one thing that I sort of decided to do was try to bring that information to the people, but it only works if you guys agree to come on and talk. And so I just want to say thank you. I appreciate
You're welcome. I appreciate you having me, Justin. I really do.
Yeah, it doesn't work, with me just talking. I've tried that before. Nobody listens. Yeah. They want to hear, from you guys, and they appreciate me providing the platform. But it's really you guys that they tune in to hear from, and I appreciate you. And I just want to say, if anybody's out there and would like to be on the show, just get the information to me, and I'll be glad to get you on. Dixon County Radio at gmail.com. We've got a website. We've got an email address on that website. You can go there and send us an email, let us know, and I'll try to reach out to as many candidates as I can find. And I just kind of run into people. I think that's where I'd ran into you one day, just face to face, and said, hey, you want to come on? And you said yeah. So I really appreciate that, and we're planning on having more candidates on in the future. But thank you for coming on, and thank you for the sacrifice of doing this, because for anybody who's never run for office, sometimes I say the pleasure or the displeasure of running for office before, because it is very hard. You put yourself out there. You're basically asking everybody to have an opinion on you with a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And so you really put yourself out there. I don't know if people realize that. It also takes a lot of time away from your family, from other things that you do in your professional life. And it is a sacrifice. And sometimes people see folks who are running for office as politicians who are selfish, but I see them as public servants, especially here at the county level, man. It's not really what you think it is. It's people taking a lot of time away from other things that they could be doing to try to make sure that this county goes in the right direction. And so I appreciate you running, and it is a sacrifice.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, let's go ahead. We'll close out then. Kenny, I appreciate you. We gave out all of your contact info, right? Are there any events coming up that you'll be at? Or
I do not have none scheduled for myself right now. I am attending some of the other events.
Okay.
I think Sheriff Eads is having one that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Some state representatives are having some events that are going to be coming up inside city of Dixon or the county. I think the majority of it is just get on Facebook, get on social media, and look at some of these things and go meet them.
Yeah.
Go meet who they are, because I think it's very important, especially the mayor, the state representative. It's very important to know who they are, because they're going to make a lot of decisions that is going to affect the county.
Yeah, and as we said earlier, it is a big election year, and with the primary happening pretty soon, we might want to close out here by just kind of reminding folks that it is March. What is today? March the 7th. And the primary is coming up.
Yeah, the primary actually will start in April, April 15th, if I'm not mistaken.
Early voting.
Early voting.
Yes.
So a lot of people don't realize that's, 4 or 5 weeks away. It ain't very far away. So you've got 5 weeks to learn who some of these candidates are, and for the May 5th primary.
Yeah. It's sneaking up on us.
It is. And of course, you're only going to, sometimes you may only have one person on there, but it's still important, if nobody's running against them, to still go put that check mark in there.
Yes.
Let them know you support them. To where, when it comes time for the general, that they know it still matters.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's coming up on us pretty quickly here. Yep. And so I think what we're going to try to do is over the next few weeks try to focus on folks that are going to be in that primary, so that we can give them a chance, because it's going to happen so quick. And then we'll have, of course, the general election, which will be in August. So once we get past the primary, of course, you've got the general, but the primary is the focus, because
a lot of people don't realize that we're going to have a primary.
Yes.
So it's big to put that out there, spread the word. It's big to put it out there that there is going to be a primary for local.
Yeah.
For the locals.
For the locals, yeah. Well, thank you for bringing that up. I think we've got the information out now, so appreciate you coming in, Kenny, as always, and hope to get you back on again at some point in the future. Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, appreciate Kenny coming in. Another great show this morning. Not sure exactly who will be on next week, but we do have another show lined up next week, and I've talked to 3 different candidates, and then I've talked to maybe another half a dozen that are wanting to come on. It's just that we've got a lot of campaign events and kids ball games and all kinds of stuff. We've got to work through the schedule, so I'll try to get you a little more information about who's going to be on next. But we definitely have another show next week. We'll have a great guest for you. 10 a.m. every Saturday morning. Try to make plans to listen to us, and we'll have another candidate on. We're also going to start doing some replays of some of these past interviews, because folks are telling me, they're like, Justin, you've had so many good candidates on, and maybe I missed it because I had to be here or I had to be there. And so, of course, we've got the YouTube channel, and we've got places that you can watch them on demand, but we're going to go ahead and put them on the radio and Saturday afternoons, a lot of the replays, and we'll get a schedule out to you on our Facebook page and things like that. So we appreciate everybody listening. We've got some great music throughout the rest of the day. 80s music is the focus right now, so we've got some great 80s music. Anything from 1989 and before you could hear on the radio today. So keep it tuned here to Dixon County Radio, and have a great day, Dixon County. We'll see you next week.